Welcome to another edition of EDA Focus on the VI Marketplace. And as you can see, we're outdoors this afternoon, and what we're doing, as we have mentioned, we're going to be occasionally, periodically making site visits to the different locations of the number of beneficiary of the EDA program. And today we're going to visit Michael Sanford's office. And this morning we have Kakusa Holloway with us from the EDA. And we're going to have a conversation.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing? Anything good?
I'm doing well.
I'm excited. This is our first on-site location shoot with one of the beneficiaries. Who are we going to meet this morning?
We're going to be meeting Attorney Michael Sanford. He's the owner of Sanford Emmerling and Associates, owner of 14 AB Church Street.
Okay. And now the last installment we did was on the Enterprise Zone, and we're in downtown Christiansted. We're in the heart of downtown Christiansted, and this is where his business is located. Is part of that Enterprise Zone, I should say, right?
His business is located in the Enterprise Zone, in the heart of the Enterprise Zone. Yes.
Okay. So we're going to walk up to this place, and he's going to greet us when we get there, and we're going to learn all we need to learn about.
Yes, and he's going to give us a little tour of the building, tell us what his experience has been with the program.
Okay. So as we walk up, we're going to now. How do you, again, help us to understand, how do you determine an enterprise zone? I mean, Christiansted is one of the most, if you will, busier towns in St. Croix. Mm-hmm. How do you determine enterprise zone?
Well, the determination is made by the governor of the Virgin Islands. That is determined by then. And then what he does is he looks at the census tract to see where the lowest economic poverty level is. Mm-hmm. And those are how it's determined by the enterprise zone.
Okay. And how many beneficiary, or is there a limit to how many beneficiaries you can have in one enterprise zone?
No. We don't have any limit to how many beneficiaries we can have. Right now, we currently have about 23, with the majority of them being in the Christiansted area.
Okay. And this beneficiary we're going to meet in a minute, how long has he been a beneficiary?
Oh, Miss Attorney Sanford has been a beneficiary since 2008.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I believe we're going to be greeted by Mr. Attorney Sanford in just 2 seconds. How are you? Good morning, Mr. Attorney Sanford.
How are you?
Pleasure to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thanks for having us at your place of business. And so how does it feel to be a beneficiary of the EDA program?
Well, it's always good to get some free money. I know, it's great. It's a very good program. This block that we're on right now is when I bought this building, I think it was like early 2000s. It was actually, there was no one on this block. The building to either side of me were uninhabited, and now we've got only one vacant building on the block, and so they've been rehabbed, and it's a vibrant block now. It's a good thing, I think.
The key word is revitalization. We used that description when we did the last installment, and when we think of Christiansted and the different beneficiary in Christiansted. The revitalization effort, give us an idea of what's involved in revitalizing Christiansted, if you will.
Well, it's not only Christiansted, but it's all of the 3 enterprise zones. And we look for different initiatives to revitalize the town itself. Through our tax credit program, we also apply for different grants because the tax credit program right now is primarily based for the business community. To help with gross receipt taxes, help with their tax liability, help them have a stay on their property taxes, but also we apply for grant programs so that way we can initiate different special programs to help our residents, like scrape and paint. In Christiansted, we have not done that only because we have strong stakeholders in Christiansted, which is St. Croix Foundation, and they've been working in conjunction with us to provide those programs to the residents. But it's all about the revitalization, making sure we're bringing back residents into the community, making sure we have a mix, because it's always been a mixed-use community. So making sure we have residents, making sure we have the business community here as well, so everyone can coexist together. And bring it back to that vibrancy that it used to have, that history, that culture, that everything is going to be displayed.
Now, we're about to go inside of Attorney Sanford's office. Have you find that the word is getting out that the EDA is serious about the restoration and revitalization of the towns and businesses? And do you find that beneficiaries like Mr. Sanford, are you seeing more? Or talk to us a little bit about what kind of response you're getting?
Well, when we first started, I first came on in 2008, and at that time we had, I believe, 4 beneficiaries. Now we've grown to 23 over the last 4 years. And through beneficiaries like Attorney Sanford, who have recommended our program to other individuals who they know are looking to revitalize the neighborhood. They maybe have a building and are thinking of revitalizing it. They send them to our program. And in conjunction with our program, there are other programs that come along with that and other benefits. But we are definitely serious. We are serious about not only just revitalizing the buildings, but about our residents as well. In addition to our tax credit program, we also do estate planning seminars, because we know that is an issue with multiple owner buildings in the historic towns, and that is free of charge. We do have attorneys who come and lend us their time and their expertise so the word is getting out slowly but surely.
Let's bring in Attorney Stanford. So we are about to take a tour of your wonderful business, and so as we go through, I'm gonna Kusa, she's my co-host this afternoon, and you're gonna tell us everything there is to know about your business, and so we look forward to learn more about you. All right. Take the inside.
Okay, so Attorney Sanford, can you tell us a little bit of the work that was done in this building? Because I know you spent quite a bit of money and time rehabbing this. First of all, how long did the rehab take?
Oh, I would say it took about probably 6 months to do. Yeah, this building, actually the bones of the building were great, but the downstairs was actually divided into 2 different areas. Our conference room, which is right through here, was actually the only way you could get into it was by an outside doorway. And so what we had to do is we actually had to break through this rather thick, I think it's like 2 feet thick rubble wall, and we had to, reinforce it, the opening, and so we could get in this way. And actually, there was also 2 different levels here, because this was an old cistern where we're standing right now, which was 19 inches lower than the area right there.
We're standing on the cistern.
We're standing on the cistern,
Wow.
and it's stable. We capped it with a concrete pad and then the stone in there, but basically there were 2 steps down. So I mean, this really downstairs was unusable, and it really wasn't. Actually, it wasn't very. I don't think it really was used in a long time. The stairway, which we have here, previously there was about a 4-foot wide circular stairway, which really was unusable. I mean, you couldn't go up and down this thing. It was a very narrow circular stairway with any kind of, if you had to carry a box or anything like that or haul anything up, it was unusable. So there was another entrance to the upstairs, and it was a different entrance. So we actually rehabbed and reconfigured a lot to the downstairs. The upstairs, we didn't have to do too much to. But anyway, it took about 6 months. And it came out well, and we're happy with the space.
Do you have any before pictures that would give us a good visual of what the effort you put in?
If I had some, I certainly don't have them right now, but anyway. But no, downstairs, really, you do see a huge difference. Upstairs is not as much. But, I mean, again, there was, instead of this stairway here, we had a 4-foot diameter circular metal stairway. You've seen them. They're real hard to get up and down. Let's see, we put a kitchen in here, which, kitchen break room. The stairway we're quite proud of. It's some local craftsmen build the stairway. In the conference room, I'll show you that real quickly. And that's real helpful as well. Mm-hmm. And this is our conference room that we have, and there's another little bathroom off of that. So again, this was a totally separate area. Where that bookcase was actually the door. So we were able to sort of incorporate the door space a little bit and make it a bookcase. Anyway, this is most of the work again was done downstairs.
Anthony, just so you know, this is usually typical of what our beneficiaries do when they take on these type of rehab projects. They usually try to bring back some of the charm and the historic nature of what the building used to be. So when you see it, it's like, oh, this is beautiful, but this is what the building really used to look like.
I see. So
back in the day. It's just restored. when they usually undertake these projects, they really restore these buildings back. And this has been restored now over about 5-6 years now.
That? Yeah,
About
maybe
that.
a little bit more. I don't know. Yeah, 6 or 7 years we've been doing this.
And look how great it still looks.
Right.
So it's not a thing of, okay, well, I'm going to rebuild it, I'm going to rehab this building, and then in 5 years, I'm going to have to redo it again. But if you keep it up, you maintain it like they have done, look how beautiful it still looks, outside and in.
How important was it for you to keep the historical value? I mean, I know you're required to do it on the exterior, but on as far as the interior is concerned, how important was that for you? Are you more of a contemporary person? Are you more of an antique, historical person?
If you look around and you see all the mahogany that we used, I mean, I love mahogany. You can't find local St. Croix mahogany in the amounts that we had to use, but we did use a lot of mahogany. So no, I love local architecture, and I think it's important, especially being in a downtown historic district, to mimic that. You do have the historical commission, so they've got the outside of the building covered. You really have no other option with that, which I'm fine with.
Did you need input? I know exterior-wise you needed to comply, but was that the same for the interior as well?
No, I don't think they got involved. They don't get involved in the interior build-out. But
so this is all you, your decision to maintain and preserve and restore it to as close as possible to the historical.
Sure, I don't know how. I mean, I quite frankly didn't hire any kind of an architect, historical architect, to say, well, this is period or not period. But I've lived on St. Croix since 1986, so I kind of know what Crucian architecture, Crucian interior design is, and yeah, I think it turned out very well.
In dealing with historic preservation, because historic preservation plays a very big part in what we do. In order to be approved as a beneficiary, you do have to get approval from historic preservation first before.
Is that the DPNR part of?
HPC,
I
historic preservation. Yes, they're under DPNR. The beneficiary has to get approval before they can even be approved by our board. Historical preservation is really concerned with more the facade of the building. They're looking for that. They want to keep it architecturally and historically accurate on the outside. On the inside, they give you leeway. They say, okay, you can do what you want on the inside, but they do ask that if you find any historical artifacts inside the building and you're not going to reuse them in the building, if you can please turn it over to them, so then that way they can put it out on display, or they can maybe give it to someone else who may be able to use it in their potential project.
Attorney, did you find any artifacts that?
I wish I had, but no, I didn't. This building, from what I understand, has been fairly consistently occupied over the years. So it's not like, we rehabbed a shell that no one's been in for 100 years. I mean, so no, I didn't find any. The only thing I guess is the rubble walls. So.
So I guess is this pretty much we've seen what we've seen in terms of Attorney Sanford's business. Anything you'd like to add in terms of closing remarks and before we said goodbye? Well,
the only thing I would say is, I know that CUSA and the EDA has been very responsive, and she's very good about letting us know and letting other people. I know that they're trying to spread the word about what they can do to help people. And I think, as far as how it works within CSTED, I just know it works building by building, but that's how the town will be revitalized. Right now, we're obviously in a very, we're in an economic downturn with Hovenza leaving, and just the national economic climate declining somewhat. So every little bit is helpful, and I know there's a lot of people out there that, with the rising cost of electricity, have to shut down their restaurants and other businesses. So again, I think it's helpful for people to understand and to learn about what programs are available to give them a little bit of an edge so they can stay in business, continue to employ people. And won't have to go off island to look for work. So anyway, that's real helpful. Recently there was a program involving federal funding for energy saving measures, and so we actually applied because they helped us with that as well. and got some federal funding for, we're going to put some solar panels on the roof. So, you know, I mean, with the price of WAPA, we're paying like over $1,000.
Coordinating with the energy office?
Yes, and rural home
No,
is rural.
this was USDA Rural Development. I found out about a program, and I encouraged my beneficiaries, sent them the applications and things like that, and gave them contact information of who to contact over there. And basically, they had two different programs for energy assistance, I believe, and renewable energy projects, and for energy efficiency projects. And basically what it is rural development is giving you you propose to them and they will give you a grant for 25% of the cost of whatever the project is. But then also, if you're looking for that balance, you can also come to us at EDA or even SBA and get the loan amount for the balance, which would be the 75%. So that's what Attorney Sanford is looking into now. So he's been preliminarily awarded the 25%. So now we're going to the next step to help him find that 75%.
Are you anticipating any significant reduction in terms of your utility bill?
I hope so. I have solar electricity in my house, and I think I decreased my monthly bill by 50%, you know, several $100s. So, yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Hovenza leaving the, you know, guarantee. Oh, absolutely. And you have to look that way because, you know, under the U.S. flag, we're paying the most for electricity.
In the country? Really?
That's what I understand. I mean, significantly more than probably 4 times on average what most people pay up in the States. And we're also in a location where we're getting so much sun. It's just really a no-brainer to go to implement solar, yeah. And again, with the uncertainty of what's going to happen, Hovenza's leaving, you know, I mean, is WAPA going to be able to find a source of oil, cheap oil, and from a supplier who will sort of take an IOU, which has been a situation for years with Hovenza. So, you know, I hate to say it, but I don't want to rely on WAPA, or I'd like to decrease my reliance. I mean, there's always going to be some kind of an umbilical cord there, but the smaller it is, the better. Yeah.
Well, Attorney Sanford, I want to thank you. You're a gracious host. Thanks for giving us a tour of your building. And of course, this is Anthony Weeks and Kusa Holloway we are on location at Attorney Sanford's office for the EDA focus on the VI marketplace. All right, Kusa, welcome back. We are still here in the CSTED Enterprise Zone area. And I enjoyed that time spent with Attorney Michael Sanford. And we are about to visit a second beneficiary.
Yes, right next door.
Right next
We
door.
don't have to go too far.
Okay, before we're greeted by this second beneficiary, you want to tell us a little bit about who the second beneficiary will be?
Sure. We're at the law offices of Attorney Andrew C. Simpson. Attorney Simpson has been a beneficiary since 2009, and this is actually 14 ABA Church Street. He renovated this building, him and his wife Robin, about in the ending of 2009 going into 2010. They spent a considerable amount of money and really kept that historic integrity of the building, as well as we saw with Attorney Sanford's building.
Okay, so yeah, I see Attorney Simpson is at the top of the staircase at the door entrance. Once again, we are here at one of the beneficiaries' office in the Enterprise Zone in CSTED, and we are with Attorney Andrew Simpson. Good afternoon, Attorney Andrew Simpson.
Good afternoon. I'm great. How are you?
Okay. I'm here, of course, with my colleague, Kusa Holloway. She is the Synchro specialist for the EDA on the Enterprise Zone areas. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, your motivation for getting into the program. Tell us a little bit what it's like, and you can then give us a tour of your wonderful building here.
Okay. Well, I've been here 22 years now, practicing law. Was looking for a building for about 10 years, and finally found this building about 3 years ago, I guess now. One of my criteria for finding a building was I wanted a rundown building to fix up.
What is that? Why did you want a rundown building?
One, for as an investment, and two, because I knew about the EDA benefits, or the EDC benefits, enterprise zone benefits, I should say, because it's a huge advantage. 25 with the enterprise zone benefits, 25% of my construction cost was paid for in terms of a tax credit.
Good motivation.
Very good motivation. Plus, because this is in the historic district, I got an additional 10% tax credit from the federal government. So 35% of my reconstruction cost was covered by a tax credit. So
That's huge.
it's very huge. Then on top of that, my gross receipts tax are capped at 3%, which when I did it, gross receipts were 4%. Now they're up to 5%, and my gross receipts are still capped at 3%. Another huge advantage. When you're looking at the amount of money that comes into a law practice, that's a huge advantage. And I wanted to be a part of the restoration of Christiansted and be a contributor to society rather than just renting from someone else. And I want to be a part of the revitalization of Christiansted.
Was it easy choosing which town in terms of the enterprise zone areas between Frederiksted and Christiansted?
Either would have worked for me. Christiansted is more convenient because of the access to the courts, the district court right outside of Christiansted, and where my house is located. But either one of them would have been fine.
Now, being a stakeholder in Christiansted and the time that you've been practicing and you've made the investment to revitalize and restore the building, what do you see? What did you see then, and what do you see now, and what do you see in the future in terms of the vitality of Christiansted?
Well, I think it's always going to be a very vital town, I guess, a very active town. Right now things are in a downturn because of events are closing and because of the economy generally across the country. But it's going to come back. And, with one of the great things about having participated in this program is I'm not underwater in terms of the amount of my investment, even with the downturn in the economy. I would not have been able to put as much money as I did into the project and not be underwater, as they say. In other words, losing money on the investment were it not for the benefits.
Did you apply to the under the EDA Enterprise Zone Commission program as someone who was coming in from the outside, or were you local and felt you saw the benefits in entering into the program?
Well, yeah, definitely local. I've been here 22 years. I've had a practice of my own in Christiansted and Gallows Bay since 2001, and I've been practicing law in Christiansted since 1991. So, I guess I consider myself local from that standpoint.
Would you encourage it? And the reason I ask is because would you encourage other locals to look at the program and to kind of just talk a little bit about the program? What was the process like for you in going through the program?
Sure. Well, first of all, the process was really easy. I sent, I think, a fax or maybe an email inquiry to the Enterprise Zone Commission and had a response within 12 hours.
12 hours? Really? Wow.
From government.
From government? Wow, 12 hours.
12 hours. And it was, yes, we can help you. We have this program. We will meet with you. And it went like that. I mean, it was, there are a lot of our government gets criticism. There are also a lot of parts of government that are very responsive. But I have to say, the Enterprise Zone Commission has been the most responsive of any.
That's better than the banks, Attorney.
I'm not sure banks are very responsive.
I didn't say that either.
But no, they were helpful. They wanted to help me. And, I can pick up the phone even now and call Kusa and say, I'm having a problem, whatever it is, or could I do this under the program? Because one of the things anyone looking at this program should understand is the benefits continue. If I make an investment in my building now for the 5-year term of the program that I'm under, if I renovate something or if I buy a piece of office equipment, as long as I comply with the requirements of the program, I get a tax credit on that too. Office equipment is 10% tax credit. If I decided to add an addition on, that would qualify for a 25% tax credit. So I do call them up periodically and say, hey, we're doing this. Will that be covered? And again, they're very responsive. So.
I'd like to pull in my colleague Kusa for a second here, because I want to talk about the incentive for others to participate in this program. And as I'm engaging the Attorney Simpson, on his motivation for doing this, I'm thinking, why not continue to acquire more real estate, because the incentive is what it is. Is there a cap? Is there a limit as to how many real estate or buildings you can buy under the revitalization program for the enterprise zone?
No, there's not. You can own as many, but you just have to apply for them separately, though. They can't all fall under the same application. Each building will need a different application, but we do actually have one beneficiary who owns 2 buildings. He bought one building. Him and his partner bought one building, and then they actually purchased another one right next door and fixed that one as well. And both of them are functional buildings here in Christiansted now. So there's no limit to the buildings and the investment that you can make. In part of our application process is that the potential beneficiary has to tell us exactly how much money they're going to invest in that particular building. Our minimum amount is $10,000. But say, as you know, with renovations go, you say $10,000 and then you end up spending $50,000. You get how much ever you spend. Once it's an audited amount, you get the 25% tax credit for that amount. So we've had beneficiaries who said, okay, we're going to spend $60,000, but end up spending $300,000. And those tax credits go a long way, especially for someone who's owning a small business like Attorney Simpson, because then they can use that towards their gross receipt liability or their personal income tax liability, which creates an avenue where they have more money now to hire more employees, do more charitable contributions to the community, or even just keep up the repairs on their building. So there is a lot of benefits to the program.
You become, in essence, for lack of a better description, an equity partner, where you provide 25% of the construction costs. That's a very significant number. Why aren't more local, if you will, residents taking advantage of this program? I mean, that's quite significant. I'm just curious as to know why more locals are not. Because there are a lot of rundown, dilapidated buildings throughout the enterprise zone, and I'm curious, is it like the best kept secret or something?
Sometimes it is. I think it's a best kept secret, but there's other challenges that we're facing. We do have a lot of buildings within the historic towns that are multiple owners. So you have buildings that are owned by 10, 15, maybe 20 individuals. So that is an issue right there. It has to be owned by one party, whether it's a corporation, but everybody has to be on the same page. Second of all,
you don't want to negotiate with multiple entities.
Exactly. Not only that, how do you differentiate who gets the tax credits? So for us, everything has to match. The building has to be in one person's name, the application has to be in the person's name, the certificate has to be in the same person's name. It has to all have a paper trail to follow.
When you say one person, just point of clarity for the viewing public, you mean an entity can be created, and it will be that single entity where if you have a group of family members, whomever, they create that one entity, and that entity will be the contractual entity.
Correct. Yes, that contractual entity. So it's not one person, but usually it's a person. We don't have too many individuals who are actually owning their buildings through a company. But
you encourage.
But of course, whatever works for them. It's whatever benefits the beneficiary, not us. It's how would you like to use your tax credits? How would you like to see this set up? And usually we start with the deed. Whoever's name is on the deed is where we usually go with. But the benefits are there for everyone. They're not just for certain people, certain economic, but challenges are multiple owners and also the availability of funding. That's huge. Availability of funding is huge. Our banks here tend to be very conservative in cases of lending, so that poses a challenge as well. So, so you have multiple owners, you have funding as an issue, but then you have individuals who want to take advantage of the program, but you have to have one or both. So.
The funding is huge. Most banks here are going to loan about 60% of value, so you've got to have the other 40%, and that's being very conservative to say that they'll do 60%. But so for my renovation costs, I had to have 40% cash of the entire renovation, and we gutted this building inside and out, and everything other than the roof we pretty much had to redo. So it was an expensive project, and I love the tax credit, but you don't get the tax credit until you're filing your tax return. So I still had to have that 40% up front.
Now, as I think of families and you have multiple individuals involved, is there, in terms of the kind of legal entity one can form, is an LLP, LLC acceptable in terms of the kind of entities that you can negotiate with, if you will, for the benefits?
Yes, of course they can. But this is one of the reasons why the Enterprise Zone hosts the estate planning conferences yearly. We host them in each island, St. Croix and St. Thomas. And it's free of charge to anyone who wants to come from the community, not just from Christian CSTED or Federal CSTED, but the whole community, the whole territory community, yes. And we have attorneys who come out who specialize in real estate planning, who come out and they say, okay, you know, this is what you may want to do. This is, you know, they don't really give legal advice, but they give you the options that are available to you or your family that you can get your situation under control, that you can do something with your building, because the banks nor us will handle something that it's in such a disarray, in a sense, with the family situation. So, but there are options. There's LLPs, LLCs, there's trust. There's different options available to families, but they do have to go and seek out that knowledge.
The only reason I brought that up is for the purpose of, if you have a family of 10 or 12, and you can create a limited liability partnership where all parties will be equal, because I know a lot of the conflict of a lot of these, if you will, assets or property is disagreement as to who's responsible for what, who owns what. And so I'm thinking, if you create an entity that's a limited partnership, if you will, or LLC, and all parties are equal in terms of the distribution of shares and ownership, and then there'll be one person or whomever will be designated as the manager of that entity.
But they also don't have to be equal. So if one person has a 5% interest and one person has 10, they can still be part of an LLP or LLC.
Oh, good point. Good point. I was just thinking in terms of equal distribution, because I know the fight with, why do you get this much and I don't get, you know, some.
Right, but sometimes you'll have, you know, the daughter and the grandkids of another sibling, and so, you know, they might have different ownership interest, but
they can come together
that can be accommodated in an LLC or LLP.
Fantastic. All right, so, well, we're here in this beautiful conference room, and I see this rather interesting looking object or thing in front of me. It looks really old, Attorney Simpson. What's the story behind this plan?
Well, I'm still trying to find out the story, but we think it is very old. This part of the building almost certainly dates to the 1700s. We know from the earliest map in Christian CSTED that there was a building here, and these walls are 21-inch thick Danish brick.
21 inch?
21-inch thick, yeah.
2-1.
2-1. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty thick.
And then this beam is 37 feet long, and it's one piece of wood. We added the wall here for support, but it used to not even have that wall there. And we think it had to be the keel of a ship. So probably a ship that came in, maybe a mast, but probably a keel. You know, a ship that came in and maybe wrecked or something, they salvaged it and used it for the support beam here.
No termite issues? No, you didn't have to treat it for termites or anything like that?
We haven't had termite issues in that at all.
I mean, if I was a termite, I would find it very attractive to go live there.
Yes, it probably would be nice. But we do have, there's a lot of iron work in it. You can see nails in it, and a lot of them are old nails. So again, you know, trying to figure out where it dates to. And then the question is, what did they use the building for? Some people have suggested that this, because of this beam, it may have been a rope loft or sail loft, where they would tack the sail or rope to the beam and then be working, doing a splice or sewing or whatever.
So we're in the conference room, so you're going to show us the rest of the building?
Sure.
Let's see, tell us what we have here.
This is just right outside the conference room.
Continuation of that.
And yes, here's the continuation of the beam. And we'll go on upstairs. We have some bush.
So you made some bush tea because you knew we were coming. Oh,
No, we have it every day. Bush tea in the coffee maker. So this is the kitchen area. When we renovated this place, it was subdivided into about 6 to 7 apartments. And like I said, we took out every non-structural wall and rearranged it to work for us. So we've got a nice area for our staff to eat and store their stuff.
Smells great.
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh.
This is very interesting.
And then we have a porch out here.
You can't keep this as a secret.
And we have a porch out here. It's a little bit messy. we plan to get a picnic table out here.
This is very unique.
Yeah. And you know, when there's a wind, when the breeze is up, it's comfortable out here, and we'll probably put in a ceiling fan to help circulate.
Was this in addition? Was this part of it, or you?
No. This was part of the building. It's not part of the original building,
So you
but
added this?
no. This was here. We just cleaned it
And
up.
you just
Yeah.
renovated it.
Right. Watch your step. Okay, so you've already seen our reception area, and I'll take you down to our offices.
How are you?
Uh,
Look at the stitching.
So we've got a couple of offices here. This is Attorney Shoup.
Hi, good morning. How are you? Thank you.
Don't apologize for being so intrusive.
This happens every day.
Great. I like her chair.
Yes.
And who's this? Who's this person? Looks like
This
she's
is Luisa Rivera.
Hi.
Hi,
She's
Lisa,
our
how are you?
receptionist.
Good, and you?
Pleasure to meet you, Anthony.
Same
Weeks.
here.
Pleasure to meet you. Good.
Hi.
And we're going up to the penthouse.
No, penthouse. Okay.
But this is one of the nicest features on this floor. This is my office.
Pretty.
I fell in love when we first toured this building. We were like, can we just stay right here, please? Such a beautiful panoramic view of Christiansted.
Yeah, and you can get a feeling for, you know, why I say this is part of the early part of Christiansted. Right in front of us here are the barracks building. They're, you know, obviously the old barracks for the fort, and across the street is the fort, and there's the steeple building to our left.
If I may take the liberty, that lot you see there, that's where my grandfather used to have his restaurant, Captain Weeks.
Oh, okay.
And so as I see that, it's just bringing back memories of that area. Wow.
It's really fun when you're sitting up here and the roseway comes in and anchors right there off the fort.
Yeah.
Because then you're just, you know, if we could just Photoshop out the cars, you'd feel like you were right back in the
Maybe get some
1700s.
horses and carts.
So that's pretty much the tour.
All right, Kusa, quite impressive. I'm really enjoying the tour. Like I said, this is the kind of things, if you will, we're going to bring you week to week in terms of we're just not going to be physically in the studio, but we're going to go out and we're going to engage the community. We're going to scout the community. We're going to talk to the residents, and we're going to talk to the beneficiary, and really wrap our arms, our mind around the program and how it's really working. And so I'm really impressed with what I see so far.
Well, this is a great way for the community to see what we're doing, because a lot of times they don't know who the Enterprise Zone Commission is. They know ADC. A lot of them know EDC, EDA, but they're like, Enterprise Zone, what do you guys do? So this is a great way to show individuals that there are benefits here to help them, but also show that there are some individuals within our community who are doing their part to help in the revitalization of Christiansted, Frederiksted, Savan, investing their money locally. A lot of our beneficiaries don't go off island to purchase materials. They purchase everything here, locally. Gallows Bay Hardware, Karma Chris, Garnet Hardware. All of these stores are benefiting from from our beneficiaries rehabbing. And not only that, they're hiring local tradesmen here to perform the work. You know, tiling, grill work, plumbing, welding, things like that. So the money totally circulates throughout our community. Usually if they're purchasing something off island, it's something really huge that they can't get here. And usually they use a business entity here to order that product. So the money still stays here in a sense. So.
Well, Attorney Simpson, I want to thank you so much for being such a gracious host. We've learned a lot from you, and you know, I guess I would imagine you would, if you were to encourage someone's watching this program, what kind of advice would you give them as a closing remark?
Well, I think it's important to realize that the enterprise zone program is available to local residents. You know, we hear about EDC, and most of us think, oh, I could never be an EDC. I'd have to have some special investment, all of that. But an enterprise zone, if you want to rehab a building in Christiansted or Frederiksted, you can be a participant, and it's the benefits are incredible. And you know, you asked about having a second building. As soon as I can afford one, I'll be doing a second one. Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, there you have it. This was our second beneficiary in terms of our site visit. This is Anthony Weeks and Kusa Holloway for EDA Focus on the VI Marketplace. We are now at the location. We're on location. That's right, folks. We're out in the community, roundabout, paying visit to all the different beneficiaries to talk about the wonderful things that that's available under the EDA Enterprise Zone program. Now, Kusa, we're here in a residential community, which is different from the commercial area. Why don't you give us, I guess, an introduction of the area and, of course, the beneficiary at this point?
Right now we're on the corner of East Street and King Cross Street. Up the street we have Tropical Cleaners. But we also, this is one of our beneficiaries, Mrs. Bernice Kite. Let me introduce Mrs. Bernice Kite here.
Hi, Bernice. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
And she's the owner of this beautiful residential property. Mrs. Kite and her sisters actually formed, as we were talking about, forming a corporation.
Yes, we're talking about family. Yes, yes. That's a very touchy subject matter.
Well, in their case, they're a very close-knit family, so it was
That's good.
easy
That's
for them.
very good. The family unity is good.
Yes.
She'd have that look. What is it?
Well, they formed a corporation and they decided they wanted to go into business together and do something. So they decided to purchase a building and they have rehabbed this building. Mrs. Kite and her sisters have been on our program since 2007. And they decided to just go strictly residential. Whereas most of the buildings in Christiansted are mixed use, where in the past it's been business on the bottom, residential on the top. That's how it's always been. And that's how we would like to keep the historic towns, which is a mixed-use community, because that drives the vibrancy and the culture and, you know, the patronizing the businesses and everything here. That's how you build a community. You have to have each portion there. You have to have the residents to patronize the businesses, but you also have the businesses there for the residents as well. And Ms. Kite is producing a viable option here in Christiansted, which is residential options.
So we are in a primary residential neighborhood community at this point. We just visited two beneficiaries from the commercial area, and earlier we talked about where if you have a body, a group of individuals that are family owning a property, and under the effort to revitalize some of these buildings and these areas, if there's a group of family members that can come together and form an entity to be able to take advantage of the funding that's available.
Correct. Now, in Ms. Kite's case, they did not previously own this building. They got together as a family unit and said, you know, we wanted to do, we want to purchase something in Christiansted. We want to go through this process. So that's what they did. But surely any family can do what they have done.
Okay. Well, why don't we have a conversation with the beneficiary and get a sense of feel, you know, what was the experience like for her in terms of going through the program. You've acquired the building. Why did you choose to go through the Enterprise Zone program? I mean, there are traditional banks. You could view your own personal finance. Why did you choose to go through the program?
Well, let's back up a little. We were actually in the process of acquiring the building, and it was at the time a mixed-use building. It was mixed use. We turned it into residential only. It was commercial up on top and on the top floor, and residential.
What was there before?
It was an attorney's office on the top floor and residential on the second floor, and we converted it to one bedroom unit, and it's been successful ever since. And it actually revived the entire corner of East and King Cross Street in Christiansted. And the neighbors have been very pleased because the building was closed for approximately 10 to 15 years unused. And it affected, being a corner structure, it affected the entire neighborhood. And because we were able to partner with the EDA to revitalize this structure, we actually breathe life into this neighborhood.
You know, it's interesting to use the word partner. And that's what this is about. The whole, if you will, community effort under the Enterprise Zone program is about public-private partnership, coming together collectively to try to address those issues that will help move the community forward. Certainly, when I look at the neighborhood we're in right now, I see I remember as a kid, and if I may sort of digress for a second, I attended Doc James, if you will, program, talent program. So I remember as a kid going in there and performing, singing and dancing. Yes. And I remember this little house here. I remember knowing the people that owned the property, and I've hung out at this house. Okay. So this goes way back. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but yes. this goes way back. And so there's a sense of nostalgia right now. Yes. And so you chose to acquire this property. It was a mixed use. Why did you choose to go strictly residential?
Because I was told, no, it's not a tricky question. Really, the lender preferred that we did not do mixed use because they felt that it would be more beneficial for us if we went strictly residential. Also, the liability issues. With a commercial space, it's sold, I believe, by square footage, whereas residential is a flat rate monthly. And for me, it works. So I have no regrets about going strictly residential. And I, from just being here in the community and talking to people who have lived here for a while, at one point it was once all residential. So it really is returning it to the way it was originally.
Again, I can't help but my grandmother lived. You don't see the buildings anymore, but there were some units that were there. And I remember as a kid, my grandmother had her place over here, and I remember as a kid staying at my grandmother's in this neighborhood. So this is quite interesting. We are standing here at a place where I have strong connections to as a young man. Kusa, let me just ask you, have you sensed, and of course, Ms. Kite, that are you sensing that the work that you've done, have it created curiosity? Has it allowed the community to get a sense of, well, they see room for growth and development? I mean, has it inspired the other neighborhoods to take notice and say, I can do this as well?
Well, most definitely. I have seen a drastic change in this neighborhood. It was new to me in terms of CSTED, because I'm not originally from St. Croix, but I worked in this neighborhood and I passed through it on a daily basis. And just in revitalizing the building, I have seen other neighbors taking interest in their own property and painted or cleaned up, and it has been progressive ever since. If someone had not driven through this neighborhood in the past, I would say 10 years, I think they'll be shocked when they pass through of the changes that has occurred in the past 6 years. It has really drastically changed. This house was well secured in that we didn't have to put anyone out, but you can see where vagrants tried to move in, and some of the houses that were closed up around here turned into crack houses, and I'm sure this was slowly on its way. But the neighbors have reported that they are pleased, very much pleased with the progress that we've made. And I see now people actually are passing and stopping as opposed to just whizzing through the neighborhood, because it was not very accommodating to anyone who wanted to pass through CSTED. So I think that, you know, you can ask the neighbors. I think they're pleased, quite pleased.
Let's talk a little bit about the I guess the benefits of the program. We're now looking at a building that is strictly residential. Could you elaborate some more as to, you know, if folks are watching this, talk more about the whole program on the residential side?
Okay. On the residential side, a lot of times people think that the only time they can get the tax credits from us is if it's a commercial property. But in Bernice's case, they got it because they're a residential property. You cannot live in the building, but she can rent it out for residential purposes and still collect the benefits on that.
So it's investment property.
Investment property, correct. Investment property, correct. We have a few beneficiaries who, a matter of fact, a few of them in the Christian State area who are just strictly residential properties. I have at least 5 buildings in Christian State that are just strictly residential properties. And usually their tax credit situation is just a little different, where they don't have the gross receipt tax liability. They have the personal income tax liability at the end of the year. And that's what they're using their tax credits for. And basically the way that works is when they file their taxes at the end of the year and they say they have a $10,000 tax liability, whatever tax credits that they have at that time, IRB will take that in lieu of them having a payment, which now if they're not paying a $10,000 payment to IRB, can go back into the building to making sure to maintain the building, upkeep the building, or to just have it in case of an emergency, in case of hurricanes, things like that.
It's just, again, to make sure the viewing public understand, primary residents it's not eligible
At this moment,
on this program. And means you can't, if even though it's a residential property, it cannot be a primary residence. It has to be residence that is rented out, if you will, to tenants, and it's considered a secondary and an investment property, correct?
Correct. That is correct. Now, there are plans on way. We're writing the regulations right now that will include, as some of the law has been changed, that will include that you can actually reside in your property and still collect some of the tax credits, but not in the form of gross receipts or income tax liability, to be more in the form of property tax credits. So.
Okay. Any closing remarks, Ms. Kais?
No, I just would like to say thank you to KUSA and to the EDA for offering this, and I would like to see more of our neighbors take advantage of it, because it does improve the neighborhood and increase your property value.
You are a walk-in, living example of the benefits under the EDA Enterprise Zone program. I want to thank you so much, KUSA, myself, for giving us I guess doing a site visit of the property. And we really appreciate you being a gracious host and sharing that information. Of course, again, folks, this is Anthony Weeks and KUSA Holloway for EDA Focus on the VI Marketplace. Well, KUSA, we're here now at our final stop. We've had some interesting folks that we've had an opportunity to talk to, interview, and to check out their place of business. And so the final stop, we're here on location at Gary's Bakery. Now, this is a pretty busy area right here. A lot of traffic, and we're about to meet the owner of Gary's Bakery. What can you tell us about this particular business, this particular beneficiary under the Enterprise Zone program?
Well, this business is owned by Gary Thomas and his wife, Diane Thomas, and this is such a heartwarming story for them and for us, because they were actually honored as our 2010 Entrepreneurs of the Year, because Gary and his wife really took the cusp of this business and said, okay, you know what, we're going to expand, we're going to do all these things, we're going to maximize what we can do with this business based on the tax credits they're going to get from the Enterprise Zone Commission. So, and here we are today. When they first started, it was just the bakery. It was just a strict bakery operation. And now they've branched out into doing some catering, light catering. They've also branched out into now having a full service deli. And they were able to purchase more modern equipment to help out with the bakery and its operations.
As far as bakeries goes, how popular, how many bakeries do you say that we have? And you don't have to give me an exact number, but in terms of the popularity of bakeries, how popular are bakeries in the territory?
Oh, it's very popular. That's part of our culture. The part of our culture is we have in our titi bread, our bush tea, our butter bread in the morning, currants roll, tarts, sugar buns and tarts, and all of these different things that we like to have. So these are institutions. These are cultural institutions for us.
And the reason I ask that because it's like most very popular business, restaurants, beauty salons, that if you have a lot of these types of businesses, it speaks to the issue of the fact that the other bakery owners we can use Gary's Bakery as an example of what the program can do for them. Yes. and probably encourage others that if you own a bakery and you've thought about expanding, or if you thought about going into the bakery business, this is a perfect example, and we're getting ready to meet the owner, Gary, in a minute, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, and it shows that there's no business really off limit to the Enterprise Zone program. Once you're willing to invest in the historic town of Christiansted, Frederiksted, and Savon, no business is really off limit. You can have a jewelry store, a bakery, a restaurant, a attorney, residential complex. So there's really no businesses that are off limit, just once you're willing to invest in the community.
The bakery business falls under the food category, and there's a lot of discussion, a lot of talk about more. We need to do more in terms of agricultural type activities. Besides bakery, would you say there are other types of food type business that's eligible under the program?
Of course, like I said, there's really no restrictions. The only ones that we have with restrictions are bars right now. Just standalone bars. But say you have a restaurant that is a lounge that offers food and a bar atmosphere, of course, you can definitely do that as well. But there's really no businesses, but you can do restaurants, you can do cook shops that just do the traditional lunchtime menu, breakfast and lunchtime menus. There are any type of restaurant or catering business can fall under our program.
Well, let's venture inside. Let's go meet the owner of the bakery and have a conversation with them about how they're doing. Oh, look at all these goodies here. I mean, I'm already hungry. I'm looking at this place. I'm looking at, look at the variety of just, I mean.
This is like your first stop before, and you know that's an institution for us. Our first stop before we get into work, we have to get our bush tea, our titi bread, our buns and whatever to get us started off for the day. So Gary offers a great selection of items, and you know, this is a family business. His father started off Thomas Bakery. As you know, there's 3 locations here in the Virgin Islands. So one in Mid-Island, there's this one here that he took over from his dad, and then of course there's one in Frederiksted. But here we have an actual photo of the building.
Before and after?
Before and after. Gary actually displays what it looked like before and what it actually looks like now, and you can see the progression.
Okay. All right. We're gonna talk to the owner, Gary. Hello, Gary. How are you? It's a pleasure. Appreciate us having us over to tell us a little bit about the business, and of course, I'm here with my colleague Kusa Holloway, and we understand that you're one of the success stories of the Enterprise Zone business. And just want to come by and just pay you a visit just to see how things are going. And, you know, we, as the community's watching this, we want them to have a sense that you know, if you're thinking about going into business, or if you are in business, what are some of the tools and resources that are available to them? So I'm going to turn the mic over to Kusa, because Kusa is the one that you work with to get what you need in terms of the different resources under the program and find out what was it like for you. All right?
So Gary, tell us what was the process like going through applying for the Enterprise Zone program?
It was very easy, you know. You fill out the application and, you know, wait for you to be approved, and that was it, basically.
Very painless?
Yes, very painless.
Now, in your terms, because you were awarded our 2010 Entrepreneur of the Year, you and Diane, you remember that?
Yes.
And you were awarded that because you not only use your tax credits to minimize your cost here in the bakery, but you also use it to expand.
Yes.
And what did you use those savings for to expand to do?
Well, buy equipments and, you know, make the line of work a lot more easier, you know. Yeah.
What were some of the type of equipment that you purchased?
Well, I purchased an oven, purchased walk-in coolers, walk-in freezers, you know, mixers.
So now you have segued from being just a standalone bakery into now being a bakery and deli.
Correct.
So now, what are your hours of operation and what do you serve?
Well, my hours are from 5 in the morning until 8 at night. And, you know, we do from pastries, bread, you know, to sandwiches, you know, stuff like that.
And I know you also do some light catering now, like if people want buns and things like that for breakfast in the morning.
Platters, you know, and little catering, such as, you know, let's say if you have a little event and you want to do chicken, fries, you know, breakfast as far as saltfish, you know, name it, you know, we do it.
So what are your future plans? I know you're looking to do some future expansion. What will be that future expansion?
Well, that's to finish this building that I'm in right now and, you know, see what comes after.
Okay. Now, is it possible that we can take a little tour of your building and see exactly some of the equipment that you purchased?
No problem.
Okay.
Right now we're here in the deli area. You know, these is like the stove, warmers, prep tables, coolers, fryers, sandwich press. Those are some of the stuff that I was able to purchase with the help of EZZ benefits, you know.
Gary, do you think the process was easy enough that anyone can do this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if I can do it, I think anyone else can. Yeah.
Okay.
We got like over here. We got like this revolving oven that I purchased. And I got racks in front of it, but you know, we did this oven. We got walk-in coolers, walk-in freezer. You know, makes my job a lot easier.
See that you have, been able to do all these things as far as the walk-in coolers, because now you can store more product,
Exactly.
you can produce more product.
Prep more and put up. You know. Yeah.
Exactly. So you'll say that the enterprise home, the program has helped you?
Yeah, quite a lot. Quite a lot. And I really appreciate it.
In which area most? Gross receipts or income tax liability?
Well, both. Both.
Gary, I'm seeing a lot of I'm into gadgets and equipments and all this other stuff. So if you can kind of tell us a little bit, I see a couple of, what is that, mixers? Talk to me a little bit about those mixers
are
back
mixers there that we use to make the bread. This is like mixers that we use to make the bread. This right here is a dough divider. This.
Whoa. This looks like an antique here. Is this an antique? It looks really...
Well, it's kind of old, but it's does the job still.
It looks like it has a lot of value. It doesn't look like a modern, but I like the way it looks.
Yeah, it's a dough divider. We put the dough in there and it weighs it out, balls it up, makes it a lot easier. So when we make the TD bread, we put stuff in there like that. Make the Johnny cake, we put it in there.
Nice.
Brings it out like a nice little ball. Yeah.
How old you said this? It looks how old you said this?
This is about...
About 60 years old?
No, not that old. Not that old, no. I'd say about 10, 15 years.
10? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It has that antique look.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, a lot of the machines and equipment that we use here in the bakery, they go from way back. And,
Okay.
they made them to last,
Okay.
So-
Okay. And these are what, ovens?
Yeah, these are ovens. These are the standalone ovens that we, use instead of using in big volume. We use it in little volume. We use these big volume. We use the bigger one.
the butter bread and the
Oh, so
bread?
those are the
like
big.
when we
Those are
come
the
in
big
in the
ones.
morning, we just everything. Well, we use the two, but then after we shut down that one and just use it because these are like individual. We got 4 stackable ovens.
Oh.
Yeah. Made
Say that again. Let people hear that. The benefit of
easy. It made me able to purchase stuff that it can make my
and that's a heavy duty freezer you got over there.
that is stuck.
Can we see that? Can we go over there and check it out? We're walking over to the big unit, the freezer unit, like you said before. Look at this, huh? Look at this. Wow.
Stuck to the dough.
So this is all the items that are going to be baked tomorrow.
Correct.
Oh, so you even do the prep work ahead of time.
Yeah.
So then tomorrow morning it's just
Yeah.
start baking right away as soon as they come in.
Correct.
And if it wasn't for the EDC, if it wasn't for the Enterprise Zone program, we've been able to purchase this.
And it's 2 walk-in coolers you have, right? Okay.
Now, so this is the freezer. We're going to check out the freezer over here. Oh, look at that, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Nice and cool. Woo. This is good stuff. All right, so this is, folks, this is what it's all about. When you think of the advantages of going through the program, equipment, heavy equipment, all the types of equipment that you need, tools that you need, the program will assist you in acquiring these things. Wow, look at this, huh?
That we use.
Another fascinating. So okay, talk.
This is the one that molds the bread, like the butter breads and stuff like that. I mean, we still got to put a little shape with our hands, but we put it through here, makes it a lot easier and faster to mold,
So
Yeah.
So I notice you have it unplugged. Is there any particular reason you have it unplugged?
I pull it closer when I put it in.
When you're ready to
When
use
it's
it.
use it. When we use it, we pull it closer. When we finish, we put it aside,
It looks kind of heavy. Is it hard to
Very
move?
heavy. No, it's on wheels. It got wheels, casters on the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Gary, it's been great. But just before we go, we're at the beautiful display case of all of the goodies that you make. Why don't you just tell us quickly what we have here, as a way to wrap up our visit with you today?
Okay, well, right here we have you know, marble cake. We have macaroons, you know, croissants, cheese croissants, butter croissants, raisin rolls, buns, drops, you know, a variety of stuff.
Okay.
Variety of
And then
stuff.
I noticed you have some canned stuff here. You have some sardine.
Yeah, we do like sardine and Vienna sausage and stuff like that. You know, the local people stick with the local stuff, you know, like fish and stuff like that.
What about bush tea?
Yeah, we got bush tea.
You got bush tea too?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Every morning.
Every morning.
5 o'clock every morning.
So how fast does the bush tea? How can you keep it? Can you keep it? In
Yeah,
the
we keep up with it, yeah.
You can?
Yeah. You know, I do my own planting. I have my lemongrass, my balsam at home. Yeah, that's to keep a stock going yearly, you know.
Well, Gary, I want to thank you so much. I really appreciate us inviting us in and showcasing, you know, your product and all your wonderful pastry. And folks, again, this is just another living example of what it's like to be a beneficiary of the Enterprise Zone program. And we encourage you, if you are out there sitting on the couch watching this and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do, you know, instead of just thinking about trying to find a job, why don't you be a job creator? You know, you might have an idea that you've been sitting on for a while, or something that you want to, you know, you want to invest in real estate. I mean, there are just different things you can do under the EDA Enterprise Zone program. And I just want to say, once again, thank you so much for being part of this on location with one of the beneficiaries of the EDA Enterprise Zone program. This is Anthony Weeks and Kusa Holloway for EDA Focus on the VI Marketplace. We will talk to you soon.